So the museum holds an awful lot of items and much, much more than we could ever fit on display. So we have what we call stores, and that's where we keep the items not on display. Then we have, I think, 3 or 4 on-site stores and then 2 off-site stores where our objects are kept. And they're all carefully controlled. We will limit the light, we control the atmosphere, and that's the way we can keep the object in as good condition as possible, ready for when an inquirer comes in to look at it, or we're ready to put them on display, a bit like behind me in Collecting Coventry. In terms of dream objects, I mean, there's so much more we've got to collect in terms of Coventry's history, but I am quite jealous of Warwick Museum, who've got their very own local dinosaur, the Crucikairos. So I would love either that if someone found a bit of dinosaur bone in the Coventry area, or perhaps if we found the rest of Finn the ichthyosaur, which is currently on display in the covered court next to Dippy. Yeah, so the museum is very keen to collect to represent the full diversity of Coventry, and we are very keen to hear from people who identify as LGBTQIA+. We were very lucky earlier this year, someone got in touch from the Coventry Corsairs Rugby Club, which is an inclusive rugby club that also play as part of the International Gay Rugby UK League, and they donated a couple of their rugby tops, which will be going on display in Collecting Coventry.
Well, I'm going to focus on the visual art collection because that's the one that I mainly have responsibility for curating. And over the last few years, really, we've been very much focusing on trying to diversify the art collection, trying to collect works of art by artists who are underrepresented in the collection. So, for example, we've collected a number of works by black artists in the recent past, particularly a drawing by Claudette Johnson, who was a founder member of the Black Art Group in the early 1980s. And we're also currently involved in a big project called 2020. The aim of this project is to place 20 artists of colour in residence in 20 museums and galleries around the country. And that artist is then creating a piece of work for the gallery inspired by the gallery's collection. So we're part of that. We're working with an artist called Cora Segal Cuthbert, and we're really excited about what she's creating for us. Well, it was quite different, as you might imagine. For a number of months the museum was closed to the public, obviously during lockdown, and most of the staff were then working from home, although some staff were actually on the furlough scheme, but I was still working, so I worked at home throughout that period. But one of the important things that I did have to do was to come into the museum building 2 or 3 times a week, just to check on everything really, just to make sure that the collection was still safe and secure, that we hadn't had any problems with, leaks in the building that might damage the collections or anything like that. So that was quite an important thing that I had to do, but it was an interesting time.